Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. You know, this reflecting pool and everything that's been going on with the reflecting pool has gotten beyond insane by the left, the mainstream fake news media, and everyone else, you know, on in the Never Trumper tent. Okay. You know, there's been a common theme that I've talked about in President Trump's second term. There are so many things that President Trump is doing and has done that are universally good, that no decent American could be against. There are a lot of things that are partisan, right? There's partisan issues in any political cycle, no matter who the presidents are. There's pro-life, pro-choice, right? I mean, you know, there's a lot of black and white disputes when it comes to politics, but there's certain things that are universally good, like beautification of America's parks, which the National Mall and everything on it is a part of. And the National Mall, for those that don't know, around the world that are listening, or are liberally impaired, the National Mall is where everything is. The Smithsonian, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, you know, the Washington Monument, the Reflecting Pool, all of that, it's called the Washington Mall. And there's many things there, a long list of things. It's not a place where you go shopping, although they do have gift shops in a lot of these places. So I guess you could do some gift shopping at the gift shop at the Smithsonian's or, you know, what are they? And the beautification of the reflecting pool, which is an iconic symbol in the landscape of America, who would be against that, right? You know, out of all of the monuments inside the Washington Mall, the Lincoln Memorial, of which the reflecting pool is at the bottom, you go to the bottom of the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, you keep walking, you're right there. That's the reflecting pool. And it's big, it's huge. And the Lincoln Memorial, and I've always considered the reflecting pool a part of the Lincoln Memorial. Maybe technically it's not, I don't know, but rarely do you see one without the other. And it's just been in disrepair. I know when I've been there in years past, it's not a pretty sight, the reflecting pool. And not only is it not a pretty sight, it's really disappointing. You know, the Lincoln Memorial is so significant, of course, because President Lincoln, but when you go on the steps, they actually have it marked in the concrete on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial that says, this spot is where Dr. Martin Luther King spoke his Have a Dream speech. It gives you the date, the exact date and everything. And that's such a cool thing, you know, that you can see that and it happened there. So President Trump cleans up the reflecting pool. And the left, since it's been done, like everything else he does, no matter how good it universally it is, they freak out and go to tear it down, like they're doing with this now. But what's happened with the reflecting pool is now we have moved into 100% vandalism into the reflecting pool. And I think most people that have half a lick of common sense realize this right out the gate. First of all, you know, how could algae grow so fast? Algae does grow in open water pools, okay, but not this fast. And then how did the paint peel off the bottom? Well, a lot of things have come out. CNN early last week actually analyzed the water. They took a water sample from the reflecting pool and tested it and found that it had in it fertilizer. They even, on CNN, interviewed an algae expert from the Smithsonian who said that there's fertilizer in the reflecting pool because of the CNN water test. How would fertilizer get it? Well, what we've since found is that leftist lunatics have been dumping fertilizer into the reflecting pool. And now there's reports on X of leftists even putting algae in the pool. Now, you know, with the fertilizer, who would know? Would that even occur to you that if you dump fertilizer in a newly refurbished pool that that algae would immediately spawn? I never knew anything like that. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it was fertilizer for the algae they were throwing in. Who knows? But Trump's been updating on this over the weekend. He's been a little distracted because he's been dealing with the ending of the Iran war, and there's still problems with Israel and Lebanon that are going on. So he has things more important than the reflecting pool algae. But he's back, from the G7, and he's been dealing with this over the weekend. Now, the paint lifting off the bottom, what's now being found is that leftists actually scraped the paint off the bottom, a long line. I'm going to go through a post that the president made. And the president said, and this has been investigated, the president said that they scraped a 250-foot scratch into the paint, 250, like our anniversary, which is a political statement. I mean, think about that. And then they poured some type of chemical in the water, which I guess got where that scratch was and removed the newly fresh paint. I mean, this is crazy. And the media, for the most part, they don't want to tell you about this stuff. And the reason they don't want to tell you about it, even though they know it, is it doesn't fit their narrative and agenda. And what the media's agenda is, and what the media narrative is that everything Trump does is bad, everything he does is wrong, and he's incompetent. And they have done more investigative reporting into this reflecting pool, so they claim, than I've seen them do with Lincoln Riley or any of these other things that have gone on in our society, or the fraud with the Medicaid in California and in Milwaukee and all these other places, right? And they're really not doing investigative reporting on the reflecting pool, or the things that I just shared with you would be the highlight in front, the lead of the stories on CNN and MS Now. And, of course, they're not. Now, there's been some developments overnight, so I'll go into this, and I woke up to this. Former Olympian among those charged with vandalizing reflecting pool, according to Fox News Channel. President Trump says basin must be drained, which they're going to do this week. Let me read through this story on Fox News. Multiple people have been arrested this weekend after allegedly this is Fox News I'm reading from, guys. Multiple people have been arrested this weekend after allegedly vandalizing the newly refurbished Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, prompting a strong response from President Donald Trump and an increase in security at the site. In a statement on Truth Social Saturday night, Trump announced this, quote, "Many additional people have been arrested after suspects took some form of knife or blade and put a 250-foot-long gash into the beautiful facade of what took so much work, competence, and money to build and complete," unquote. The president also alleged suspects poured corrosive and destructive chemicals into the basin after the 250-foot scratch. Now, my goodness. And they were pretty accurate with their measurements, 250 feet, on the eve of our 250th 4th of July celebration. President Trump goes on, "It hasn't looked or worked like this since 1922 when it was originally built, but even then it leaked badly and didn't work," Trump wrote in the Post. "Ours works perfectly, including the mirror-like finish, perfectly reflecting the two great monuments, the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, which it never had before. What these terrible vandals have done is a true affront to both Presidents George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and should be dealt with accordingly." Now, Lincoln and Washington are in America are practically saints. Okay? They're as close to a saint as you could be, right? And be a politician. And so far as how Americans view President Washington and President Lincoln, or as we refer to him as General Washington and President Lincoln, or Mr. Lincoln, he's often referred to as. Okay, so let me get back to this. Oh, yeah, I want to mention, if you remember in Trump's first term, is when leftist lunatics were defacing and tearing down monuments around the country, and he got an ordinance passed with a 10-year minimum sentence for doing such actions. And if you remember, it stopped all of that vandalism back in his first term. And what I've wondered the past few days as we've seen more details of the leftist vandalism of the reflecting pool is a monument like the Lincoln Memorial itself. does that minimum 10-year federal prison sentence apply to those who have defaced the reflecting pool? And I would say it probably does. Probably does. Trump said administration officials met with contractors Saturday and will likely need to drain much of the water in order to do the necessary repairs. It is unclear if the contractors mentioned are the same ones initially employed to carry out the renovations. We will have them done as quickly as possible, the president wrote. What they have damaged does not even include the earlier killing of a large amount of grass, which was by far the least of it. If you remember the grass next to the reflecting pool, they used some type of chemical, the leftist, to write in the grass really big so you could see it from the air, 8647. The president goes on, the reflecting pool was never so beautiful as it was just 1 week ago, even going back to 1922 when it opened. We are very proud of what we have done with this magnificent structure, and we will get it repaired quickly to an equal level of beauty. The announcement came as the administration faces scrutiny over peeling paint and algae growth just weeks after a $14.8 million restoration project was completed. While Trump did not specify who was responsible for the alleged gash in the lining and subsequent peeling, multiple arrests were documented over the weekend by local reporters. Journalist Emily Miller posted a 2-minute video on X Friday showing a man in lime green race gear questioning a National Guardsman before being handcuffed by the park police. The Washington Post later identified them as a 67-year-old man. Let's see here. The Washington Post later identified the man in Miller's video as a 67-year-old 3-time Olympian who was arrested on misdemeanor charges of destruction of government property. The former Olympian, well, I guess you're always an Olympian. Did he win the medals? I don't know. Told the outlet he had just finished a 52-mile bike ride when he noticed a partially detached piece of the new pool liner and reached in the water to see what it felt like. The Bethesda, Maryland native told the AP he owned a company that made composite used to build watercraft. Okay, he told the Washington Post, let's see here. While Miller, this is the Olympian. While the Olympian claimed to have grabbed a hose, it goes on to some details about that which are confusing. He says, I didn't vandalize anything. He said, I was arrested in 1996 on charges of canoeing on the Potomac River, but later had them dropped. I didn't destroy, break, or peel anything. By the time I realized what was happening, I was being handcuffed. 7 people were detained Friday, 5 on Saturday in separate incidents, which led to a major security surge around the reflecting pool. In an earlier Truth post on Saturday, Trump questioned, who would do such a thing? These are very serious crimes having to do with the destruction of national monuments, the president wrote. Years in jail. Work will begin immediately on its repair. What we know with the left, and this has been going on for a number of years, especially during the Trump years, okay, that, and liberals have a long history of doing this, but I'll keep it to the 11 years since Trump came down the escalator. Since Trump has been on the scene, liberals have gone through this country and defaced and committed all kinds of destruction. And if you remember in Trump's first term, the vandalism and destruction that they did throughout Washington, D.C. led to levels that were very dangerous. Remember the church fire? They burned down the church across the street from the White House, lit it on fire. Remember President Trump went there with the Bible, standing up for the church? Antifa attacked the White House. 80 Secret Service agents, many of them uniformed, were injured in that attack. And remember, there were many windows and everything broken in the D.C. area around the White House that were boarded up and fires were lit. It was really terrible what they did. Plus the destruction of statues around the country that they were destroying. And regardless of what the statues were about, if it was a Confederate or not, it doesn't matter. There's still public property, and you can't deface public property and monuments. But the left have a history of doing this. And, one of the things when liberals go out and they commit this kind of vandalism and violence, one of the things that's always blown my mind about it is how they feel it's totally justified. It's like it's okay to do the things that they do because the other side is so bad. Well, I got news for you. You know, you can go all the way back. We were talking about Washington and Lincoln. You can go through every one of our presidents. Pretty much half the country hate that president, no matter who they are. You know, John Adams, you know, he ran against President Washington. And back in those days, for a long, long time, the second place finisher, whoever lost the presidential election, became the vice president. So Adams was in the opposition party, and and against. So even Washington had an opponent. Could you imagine if they never changed that? That would mean Kamala Harris would be vice president, not J.D. Vance. Could you imagine? Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Or George H.W. Bush would have been Bill Clinton's first vice president, and Bob Dole would have been his second. It's kind of crazy when you think about those things. By the way, if you'd like to call in, I am taking calls. The number is 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are. And, you know, Abraham Lincoln, you know, remember when Abraham Lincoln won, the Democrats were so upset that they left the Union and started the insurrection known as the Civil War. And 4 years later, when Lincoln ran for re-election, the Democrats, can you believe the Democrats, during the Democrat insurrection of the Civil War, and make no mistake about it, the Civil War was a Democrat insurrection against the federal government, a very deadly one. 1 million Americans minimum died in the Democrat insurrection Civil War. But they launched that insurrection, the Democrats, when President Lincoln was elected the first time. And even after everything they had done, everything they did, all the death and destruction during the 4 years during the Civil War, when President Lincoln ran for re-election 4 years later, the Democrats had the gall to put up a candidate. That's right. And Lincoln wasn't even sure he was going to win. He stayed up all night watching returns in the telegraph office down the street from the White House. And you can go through any president, no matter how much they're loved. Right? You know, Kennedy. You know, Kennedy, because Kennedy was assassinated and it was on television and it was so, you know, we've all seen it. It wasn't on television live, but we've all seen it. And he was so young. And like Lincoln and Washington, Jefferson's been put on a pedestal of near sainthood. And, you know, President Kennedy, strong opposition in 1960, very controversial election with controversial everything involved in it. And more than half the country hated Kennedy. In fact, it was so bad with President Kennedy. The reason he was in Dallas that day is he was preparing his re-election campaign, and he wasn't polling well in the South, and he thought he'd lose. All right? So, you know, this idea that President Trump is the first president to be disliked or be hated by so many people. In fact, President Trump is hated by fewer Americans than these other ones we talked about because he came back for a second and non-consecutive term. Okay? So, you know, he's hated by the left, but they're less than half of the electorate. Okay? But every president, no matter how much they're loved, at least half the country typically hate them. But it's only with President Trump that they've taken it to this insane level. All right, now if you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, pinned in the live chat. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, yes. Good morning, Brian. My name's Frank. I'm calling from Michigan. Happy Father's Day. I had a question for you real quick.
Okay.
I was wondering if, by any chance, you're going to interview the President Donald Trump on your radio show.
No plans. I've never tried to get an interview with the president.
I'm just wondering. You're a great radio show. Listen to you all the time. You're so close. You need to get him on that radio show, buddy. Let's get her done.
Well, you know, I've never, ever tried to get an interview with the president. Why do you think I haven't even tried? All these 11 years.
I'm not sure. Why is that?
Why would you think?
I'm asking you. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. To have him on would be nothing really short of an ego exercise on my part, right? What
Not really.
could? Yeah, sure.
You're a big fan. Well, you're a big fan of his. It'd be nice for the listeners to hear you talk to him. I mean, that's all. It's not an ego trip.
No.
I mean,
Let me finish. What could I add? This is an important thing. Okay, because I'm glad you called, because this, people ask me this from time to time, and I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the air. I may have, but it's been a long time. What could I ask President Trump that he hasn't been asked 10,000 times?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I'd throw it out there because you're a hard-working guy.
But I will tell you this:
Right.
the president does listen to me. I know that for a fact. For a fact.
Right. I know you went to my logo and got that hat and all that. That was great. You're right down the street from him.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you very much, man. You have a great day.
All right. You take care. I mean, this. I remember the first time I encountered that was after the O.J. Simpson trial. The O.J. Simpson trial was the biggest trial in history. It doesn't seem like a big deal now, but it was at the time. And right after the trial was over, I had a chance to interview on the radio almost all of the attorneys on both sides: Marcia Clark, Chris Darden, Shapiro, all of them. And everyone and the radio station said to me what I just said to that guy: what are you going to ask Marcia Clark or Robert Shapiro something that they haven't been asked 10,000 times before? That's true. I mean, and what could I say? It was true, and what had happened. I remember I did one of the interviews. It was with Chris Darden, who was one of the prosecutors. He was the second prosecutor with Marcia Clark, and it was terminal. And then I had the chance to interview these others, and that's when they said, that interview wasn't very eventful, was it? And they said, no, because he's done so many interviews. So, it's one of those things. All right, now, if you're on hold, hang in there. The thing with the liberal violence that's going on, okay? The thing with the liberal violence, even the media, who hate Trump like the plague, all right? Although they don't dislike plague so much, really, the liberals. They hate Trump like they hate the Bible, I guess, is another way to put it. But, Democrats, liberals, that are in the media with this reflecting pool. This is another thing I've learned from the left, all right? The left, when they look at this vandalism, just stick with the vandalism, forgetting about the assassination attempts. There was another assassination attempt at the MMA fight at the White House, forgetting about those kind of things, but just the reflecting pool. The liberals, which include the liberals in the media, they believe that President Trump has brought this on himself, that somehow he has done something to people that makes them so angry that they do these things. So they may not openly blame him on their broadcast, but they blame President Trump for the vandalism at the reflecting pool. They think it's his fault. In fact, they think he defaced the reflecting pool by updating it and fixing it up because Obama did it many years ago. That's how they think. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is John. I'm calling from Georgia.
All right, Georgia. What's on your mind?
Hey, nothing much, man. First of all, just for everybody listening, I have a Southern accent, but in no way does that mean that I'm ignorant or unintelligent.
Who would think such a thing?
Simply an accent.
Who would think that?
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that think that.
Liberal people.
But yeah, they're usually
liberal people would think that.
Other things. But yeah. So I mean, I'm not really familiar with your show, but since you're providing this platform, I would like to say that I voted for Trump 3 times. Okay.
But
I really had high hopes for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was the Ross Perot of our times.
But
and for those that aren't familiar with Ross Perot,
we know Ross. We don't need the history of Ross Perot. This people that listen to this program are intelligent. We know about Ross Perot, probably more than you. So you voted for President Trump 3 times, but get to the but part.
Yes, I did.
But
he's really, forgive my language, he's really kind of pissing me off with this whole Iran thing.
What do you mean winning
I was in the service.
winning the war pisses you off in Georgia? Why would that piss you off?
Well,
we just won the war.
I was in the military. We still haven't won anything, man.
Really? What branch of the service were you in?
They haven't.
What
won
branch
though.
of the
I
service
was
were you
Army.
in?
The U.S. Army.
What'd you do in the Army?
I was a 44 Bravo.
What's that? I don't know what
High
that.
speed, low drag maintenance man.
What was your rank?
I made E4 3 times.
What was your rank?
I made E4 like 3 times.
What?
I got in some trouble while I was in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I got in
E4,
trouble.
which is corporal,
I kept making rank.
you were a corporal and you kept
Yeah.
getting in trouble and getting demoted.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like a
Yeah.
what we kind of trouble? You're a criminal?
No, it wasn't criminal. It was just
Like what? What did
I
you
didn't
do?
want to conform to some of the nonsense that was going
Oh,
on.
okay. So you you violated the Uniform Code of Military Justice and didn't follow orders and things
Yes,
like
I
that.
did.
Okay.
Well,
Which is
there wasn't
criminal.
that I didn't follow orders.
Yeah.
There was the biggest incident was when I had like 7 guys trying to jump me outside
of
of a
course.
bowling alley,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and I defended myself.
Really?
And
That's interesting.
yeah,
I heard that.
and,
I heard that story. They made a movie out of it called Con Air. Get off the phone, you liar! Oh my goodness. Remember Con Air? That was the beginning of Con Air. He got jumped by 7 people. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, those of you that are watching live know this. Those of you that are not watching live, okay, you may not know this, but right now it is 3:58 a.m. And I was up in the middle of the night, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go live, or I was going to live stream this morning at my usual time, like 5:30 or 6 in the morning. And I said, I'm up. Let's go. Let's do it. And I started the live stream at 3 a.m. So it's now 3:58 a.m. here on the East Coast. So, you kind of get a different, I guess, type of person that's up in the middle of the night. But remember Con Air? That was the first scene in Con Air. He got jumped outside of a bar like by 5, 6, 7 guys, and then, of course, got jammed up. Yes. Oh, yeah, I think that was also in Jack Reacher, probably. Yes. It's so funny when you get... I call these people cosplay callers. Cosplay callers. They're callers that have this whole fake fantasy life that they've lived, and they call in and they are trying to live out the fantasy. That's why I call them cosplay callers. This guy was, I don't know if he was in the service or not, but that last story was right out of the movies. The rest of you on hold, hang in there. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, there's a lot more to cover. All right. My name is Brian. The number is toll free 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back after this quick break. I'm in the Jupiter Joe radio studio with Jupiter Joe. Joe, a lot of people I know are wondering, can I retire? Am I too young to retire? Do I have enough money or even income to retire? And I'm sure you hear that a lot from people.
Those are probably the 3 biggest questions we get from clients. Can I retire? Do I have enough money? Am I too young? Am I too old? All the gamut. And here's what I'll tell you. It's all a numbers game. If you got the numbers, we can do it. That means how much money do you have and how much income can we give you? It's that simple.
I think the biggest mistake people can make is assuming that they don't have enough money to retire.
I have people that actually call and apologize to me because they don't want to give me their numbers. They'll say, I don't have a lot. It doesn't matter what your number is. It's just making sure you can make that work for you.
Well, that's what's great about annuities, because with an annuity, you're guaranteed an income stream every month for the rest of your life. How does that work?
So it's this simple. You put in a lump sum of money, and you'll know exactly to the penny how much money you're going to get per month. Just like Social Security. Ask anybody how much their Social Security is going to be, and they'll know to the penny. Well, guess what? An annuity works exactly the same way.
Don't make the mistake of trying to plan your retirement by yourself. Call Joe Thomas, schedule your no-charge consultation, and after that consultation, Joe Thomas is going to put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation, your goals, and where you want to be. Give him a call. The number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999 and online, jupiterjoe.com. Let's be honest. How many hours? How many dead ends? How many wasted credits are you burning just trying to get AI to understand what you actually meant? You're not alone, but you can stop all the hassle. Go to AISearchPrompt.com. AISearchPrompt.com is the Google search engine for AI prompts, the AI prompt marketplace for everyone. AISearchPrompt.com. Share the link on all your social media. AISearchPrompt.com is your platform. Are you tired of changing diapers and wondering when potty training will finally click? From author Kimberly Rich comes a practical, no-nonsense guide designed for busy parents, just like you, who don't have time to read hundreds of pages of parenting advice. Ditching the Diapers, a 7-day boot camp for potty training book, available on Amazon. Written by a mom, Ditching the Diapers is an easy-to-follow book that provides a proven day-by-day plan to help your child make the transition from diapers to independence in just 7 days. With Ditching the Diapers, you'll discover how to recognize when your child is ready, how to prepare for success, handle accidents without stress, and celebrate every milestone along the way. It's real-world advice from someone who's been there and understands what parents are going through. Order your copy of Ditching the Diapers from author Kimberly Rich on Amazon. It also makes a great baby shower gift. Ditching the Diapers on Amazon. All right, welcome back. I'm Brian. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast, available wherever you get podcasts, all right? Okay, so let me get back to it. Now, the Democratic Socialist of America, that's Bernie Sanders, AOC, Mamdani, Plattner, and right? These are well known, and there are many others. Well, the Gateway Pundit, they've just come across, and this is all on my X, by the way, Brian Craig Show, the official platform of the Democratic Socialist of America. And the Democratic Socialist of America, what you got to understand is they're taking over the Democrat Party. I'm going to go through this platform in a bit. I'm going to take another call or two. But this party is a revolutionary party that quite possibly should be outlawed. We'll get into that in a bit. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
You know, you mentioned this guy that got caught at the reflecting pool.
The Olympian.
The Olympian. If you do the math, he would have had to have been probably in the 1984 Olympics. You know, probably.
I don't know.
You know,
maybe. Those are the ones in California. The 80s, the Summer Olympics we didn't go to. They were in Moscow. And we boycotted the 1980 Olympics because the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, and Jimmy Carter was still
That's
president.
Right. That's right, and that was a Democrat messing up foreign policy as usual. But that's neither here nor there. And you know, these guys, if that law is there that says that these guys have a mandatory minimum, mandatory prison sentence, for destroying national monuments. Well, here we go. They get this guy. It's proven that he's throwing this fertilizer into the reflecting pool. He's going away.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you know, they arrested. I saw this on X early this morning when I got up. On X, they picked up some liberals that were actually dumping algae in it. They've been dumping algae in it, and that explains why the algae and so much of the damage has been on the edges of the reflecting pool, because that's where they can dump things in. They got a guy on Friday that had a 5-gallon bucket along the reflecting pool. So they've been dumping things out of buckets into the reflecting pool along the edges. And if you see the aerial footage, all the damage and the growth is all on the edges.
Right,
and there definitely is evidence with this scratch they etched in that's 250 feet long. And they also etched in the bottom of it 8647. And the thing about the chemicals, that tells me that the government's done an investigation and found the chemicals and briefed the president on them.
You know, normally, just in a normal swimming pool, you look at how they clean a normal swimming pool.
Yeah.
And they have to have that long pole with the net and the thing and whatever, you know, to get into the middle of the pool. So obviously, you have to have some long net long thing
Yes.
to get into the pool, and also to have a sharp edge on that thing to be able to.
Well, and there's
etch.
and there's also some, Mike. There's some operational knowledge here, okay, and coordination, okay. First, I'll go in reverse. I'll start with the paint. So they etched a 250-foot scratch into the bottom of the reflecting pool. And my source of that is the President of the United States, okay? Very credible source, and that number is just insane. They poured chemicals there. Well, there's all kinds of chemicals. How would you know what chemical to pour in water that would seep down to a scratch you etched at the bottom that would cause the paint to rise? You've got to have some real chemistry knowledge for something like that, right? I wouldn't know. Would you?
Yeah, and because the president has built hotels here, and those hotels have had probably swimming pools in them, he knows of what he's speaking.
And the fertilizer and the algae, so who knows what, there's different types of fertilizer for different kinds of things. So, so how would you know what type of fertilizer to use with algae? They found people putting algae in the pool. There's an entire organization with very, very detailed knowledge on unusual things that the general public don't have knowledge of.
And the funding to get these people that know what they're doing to, obviously, they don't want us to think that they know what they're doing, but these people know what they're doing because they know exactly what algae to put in there, and they know what fertilizer to fertilize the algae with.
What do you think about these 3:30 a.m. Sunday morning live streams? Pretty early, a little bit of a different crowd on the phones. What do you think?
Yeah,
You're
a little bit of a different crowd. Yeah, you're gonna get probably still gonna get your trolls here and there.
Oh yeah.
But a little bit of a different crowd.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a
The
fun
night
thing
owls,
to do,
the vampires, the people that are up all night. All right, appreciate the call, Mike from Louisiana. If you'd like to call in and you're watching live, the number is pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. And guys, please like the video. When you like the video, it gets the video recommended to people that have not yet found my channel. And that, of course, helps grow the channel. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Make sure you subscribe. I live stream every morning here on YouTube. And my podcast, The Brian Craig Show podcast, is available on all podcast platforms. But I'm here every morning live streaming on YouTube. And if I'm in the studio, I'm always taking live calls. And I'm also here most afternoons during the week as well. So anyway, we've got these Democratic Socialists, Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, AOC, the entire squad, Graham Plattner and others, and they're actually plotting the downfall and overthrow of the United States as we know it. It's true. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Washington. I was just wondering why your hat says 2028 on it.
It says Trump 2028.
It says Trump 2028.
Yes. Well, why would someone like me wear such a hat? Why would I be wearing such a hat? Why do you think?
Because you want to support someone who's over 80 years old being president. It's too damn old. Like I said, it was too damn old when it was Biden, and it's too damn old when it's Trump.
No, in fact, it's not. Okay. How old are you?
How old am I?
No, how old am I?
I'm not even 30. How old are you?
No,
I don't know.
No, how old are you?
You're probably 45.
45? Thank you very much. No, I'm 55. How old are you?
I'm almost 30.
You're almost 30. So you're 29?
Sure.
What year were you born?
Okay, well, we're not getting at the issue.
Oh my
here.
goodness. How old are you really? You're not 29 or 30 because you don't know what year I don't know why are you lying about your age?
I'm not lying about my age. I'm just trying to get.
I asked you what year you were born, and you don't. At 4:11 a.m. you can't do the math. Everybody knows what year they were born. There's a movie. there's a movie from the 1970s, okay? You may or may not be familiar with it. Hold on, excuse me. There's a movie in the 1970s called Logan's Run. Ever heard of it? Logan's Run. Are you familiar with the movie? Oh, he hung up. He hung up. He hung up. Oh my goodness. You know, out of I think I've taken 4 calls, and I've had 3 liberals out of the 4 callers, right? And the 3 liberals, you know what they all had in common? They lied about themselves. Every one of them. What is that about? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Brian. This is Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Royal Palm.
Hey, Dave in Royal Palm. Oh, my goodness. You like these 4 a.m. live streams with calls? It's a different group of people.
I just happened to get up a few minutes ago and turn the TV on, and there's Brian Craig.
Yeah,
and,
I hope my notification. Did my notifications wake any of you guys up? I hope not.
No, I just happened to get up this time and turn it on, and but I was hearing that, the thing about the reflecting pool. Most of these people don't have the imagination to do that stuff. And I just got a feeling just about all these things are just cooked up by, some of these Soros or NGO type things. And
well, there's obviously,
what
since you're just joining in, I was talking to Mike from Louisiana a little bit ago. Okay, and we got some new information. They've arrested some people or detained people caught dumping algae into the pool. CNN reported that there's fertilizer in the reflecting pool, and they interviewed an algae expert from the Smithsonian, and that's why the algae is growing, because they dumped it in and then they fertilized it. He said there's fertilizer in the pool. He looked at the water analysis. President Trump last night put a post up on Truth Social that gave us some information. He said they etched a 250-foot scratch at the bottom and etched it into the bottom of the paint to damage the 250-foot. 250th anniversary is a couple weeks away, and poured chemicals into the water, which caused the paint to dissolve. This is, you've got to have some real specific knowledge to accomplish these things. This isn't something somebody just did a Google search on and did. Who would know how to do such a thing?
Yeah, especially a leftard.
Exactly.
Science.
Yeah, this is a coordinated effort to deface a national monument, which is a major federal crime punishable by a minimum 10-year prison sentence. It's not a joke.
I'll tell you, I just hope they can find out who's funding these people or training them or whatever, and that they get that possibly that 10-year sentence for defacing federal monuments or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just insane. It's just insane. But anyway, Brian, it's good to see you on. I hope you're awake at 6 o'clock.
At 6? Oh, you want me to do another live stream at 6 a.m.? My original plan was, on Sundays I usually go live a little after 5:30, 6, and I fell asleep on the couch watching TV, and I woke up at about 12:30 in the morning. And once I'm up, and I did my show prep, and then I looked, and it was like coming up on 2, and I'm like, well, why don't I just do the live stream early? And see what kind of different people are out there. And we've been finding out if you go back and watch the beginning of the show. All right, hey, it's good to hear from you, though.
You take care, Brian.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
It's going to mess up my whole Father Day activities because, I'm probably going to be out of it for the rest of the day. I want to go to bed like at 8 in the morning. I don't know. Listen, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, there's a lot more that I'm going to cover, all right? My name is Brian. This is The Brian Craig Show. We'll be back right after this.
Do you ever feel overwhelmed before your day even begins? Like your to-do list is running your life. Your motivation has disappeared, and no matter how hard you try, you're stuck. From author Victoria Magic comes a refreshing, down-to-earth book that will help you stop waiting for motivation and start building it, one small step at a time. From overwhelmed to empowered, a practical guide to self-motivation in everyday life. Available on Amazon. With this must-read book, you'll learn simple, proven techniques to beat procrastination, quiet negative self-talk, reduce stress, boost productivity, and create lasting momentum. There's no unrealistic routines, no complicated systems, just practical, actionable tools that fit into real life, even on your busiest days. Whether you're a working parent, caregiver, student, or busy professional, author Victoria Magic shows you how to turn that feeling of being overwhelmed into action, build confidence, and make meaningful progress without guilt, pressure, or burnout. Order your copy right now on Amazon in Kindle and paperback and start making progress one small, powerful step at a time. From overwhelmed to empowered, a practical guide to self-motivation in everyday life from author Victoria Magic on Amazon. Are you carrying stress, anxiety, self-doubt, or emotional wounds that seem impossible to move beyond? You're not alone, but there is help at Transmend, where you will find licensed mental health therapist Kyla, who helps adults just like you throughout Virginia and Hawaii find healing, clarity, and lasting personal growth through compassionate telehealth counseling. Guided by the powerful philosophy, Mend and Transcend, Kyla helps clients address the experiences, the patterns, and the beliefs that may be holding them back while building the resilience, confidence, and skills needed to move forward with purpose. Whether you're navigating trauma, anxiety, life transitions, self-esteem challenges, or simply seeking greater emotional wellness, Transmend offers a personalized, trauma-informed, and holistic approach designed to create meaningful, long-term change. Kyla is also author of a guided coloring and journaling book that features original reflections, journal prompts, and poetry created to inspire healing, mindfulness, self-discovery, as well as personal growth. If you're ready to mend what has been weighing you down and transcend your experience into your next chapter, as well as learn more about Kyla's book, visit transmend.com. That's TRANSCMEND. Transmend.com. Mend and transcend.
All right, we're back. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and welcome to everyone who's new. Please subscribe. I want to talk about Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. You know, he's a good MAGA guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, Tom Laporta will do it. He covers the entire state of Florida and works on every type of roof, residential, commercial, and municipal. He also works with every type of roofing material. I've known him for years. He's done the roofs of many, many friends of mine, as well as many, many listeners to this program and the radio show. And his work is so good. He is certainly an artisan, and he's a man you could trust. It's amazing to me how many people I've talked to who thought they needed new roofs, and Tom came out and said, "No, you just need a repair," and he did it. Including there was one in particular. This was an HOA, big condo roof, and they had, before they heard me talking about Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing, they had some other roofing guys come out. They all said he needed a brand new roof. Tom Laporta said, "No, you just need a repair." That's amazing. Give Tom a call. This number you can call or text 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, laportaroofing.com. All right, let me get back to it. So if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, and it's pinned in the live chat. And you guys can let me know. I started this live stream at 3:30 in the morning. It's now 4:20 a.m., and a lot of you are up. And I know I'm up. I'm up early, even on the weekends, and today is, a day but most people will be sleeping in. Not me. There's no sleeping in for me, even on the weekends. So I want to get to this, though, because I think it's important, and I think you think it's important, too. The Democratic Socialist of America. Joe McCarthy not only was right, he's proven right all the time. And the Democratic Socialists have made a big move to take over the Democrat Party, and they very well may have. The entire squad are Democratic Socialist. Graham Plattner, who's running for the Senate in Maine, is a Democratic Socialist. Mamdani, the mayor of New York, is a Democratic Socialist. And there's many others around the country. Tallarico, running in Texas, is a Democratic Socialist. And the Democratic Socialists have taken over really the power position behind the scenes as well. That's why we're seeing so many of these Democratic Socialists out there. And the Gateway Pundit has come across their new official platform. Listen to this. This is in the Gateway Pundit at thegatewaypundit.com. I also posted this on my X at Brian Craig Show. Listen to this, The Gateway Pundit. The Democratic Socialist of America is behind the campaigns of New York City Mayor Mamdani. Rahman, oh yes, Rahman in New York is a Democratic Socialist. Okay. They are 100% radical, and they're winning elections all over the country. Okay. City Journal reports, and this is in the Gateway Pundit article, the Democratic Socialist of America just adopted a new platform. Listen to this. This is from the City Journal. Earlier this month, the Democratic Socialist of America's top leadership met for an in-person meeting of their National Political Committee, the Democratic Socialist of America's governing authority. They want you to call them the DSA, so people don't hear the socialists. Don't do that. Call them the Democratic Socialist of America, which is their name. People need to hear this. The result of the meeting was workers deserve more. A reboot. That's communist revolution right there. Workers deserve more. That's their whole platform. A rebooted platform for the organization featuring a host of radical proposals. The Democratic Socialist of America commit to scrapping the United States Senate, abolishing the capitalist state, defunding the Department of War, amnesty for all immigrants, and replacing the president and the Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by and subordinate to Congress. Real democracy is what they're calling for. And this is, they're calling for the overthrow of the government of the United States, is what they're calling for. And that's exactly what they're calling for. They want to leave the House of Representatives in place because that's where the squad is, I guess. AOC's over there, right? Yeah. And while they've had some luck with some, House seats, they haven't really been done well at the Senate level, which are statewide races. Although Graham Plattner, who knows what'll happen with.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I used to charge people over $1,000 to fix this.
Hold on 1 second, guys. It's an audio bit I want to play. I got to play the ad before I play the video. So the House of Representatives, they feel they could make some inroads in, so they don't want to abolish that. Just the Senate, where they have not been successful. But this is nothing short of an overthrow of the American government. They're calling for revolution. They're calling for insurrection. They're calling for that's what it is, a 100% insurrection. And many of them are in power, the ones I've named. And there are many others around the country, even at the local level, that are in power, like that mayor out in, was it Seattle or Portland, that lunatic girl who lives with her parents, And if you notice with the Democratic Socialist, there's a pattern of them living with their parents. Bernie Sanders lived with his parents till he was 30 or 35. Graham Plattner, he's an oyster farmer, right? He has one client, his mother, his mommy's restaurant, right? Remember this? So a lot of them live with their parents still or live off of their parents. There's a pattern with this, but that is nothing short of a calling for an overthrow of the government of the United States. And, I got to tell you, that party needs to be outlawed. We have them because the Democrats let them in. They let Bernie Sanders into the Democrat presidential campaign and debates in 2008. They shouldn't have, because Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat. He's a Democratic Socialist. That's a whole different political party. So once they're calling for the overthrow of the U.S. government, which is what their platform does, should they not be outlawed and purged from government? I say yes. What say you? All right, now you can also let me know in the comments what you think. This is an exchange on CNN talking about the reflecting pool, which I opened up about. Listen.
I haven't heard that, but I wonder what you make of the president's lengthy post tonight. Also attacking a reporter for reporting on the condition of the Lincoln reflecting pool.
Well, regarding the vandalism, that's absolutely true. Somebody did vandalize the grass. Even when workers were working on the reflecting pool, I think I read that people came and vandalized their trucks and their equipment. Mm-hmm. Look, you have people.
I hadn't heard that before. That's a new one, that people were vandalizing the workers who were doing the renovations. First time I heard that.
That hate Donald Trump so much that they would go out and destroy our national monuments, vandalize the Lincoln Memorial, vandalize the grass. That's how broken-brained they are. Donald Trump has cleaned up Washington. The fountains work. The city is clean. The city is safe. It's good that he has taken an interest in this. And you have these people out here who are so broken-brained about the fact that he's the president that they're spending their time vandalizing all this stuff. I think it's terrible, and I hope anybody who vandalizes our monuments, I hope they get caught, and I hope they get put in jail. He's trying to make the city beautiful for America 250. There's going to be a lot of people in Washington. They deserve to go to a clean, safe capital, and that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah. And, it's an interesting thing when you watch these pundits on television. Do you hear any of the liberal pundits coming out against the vandalism? They don't even want to acknowledge it's true, right? They're gaslighting all of us, trying to convince us that the vandalism is not true. But you know what? It is true. We know it's true, and it's being proven, and people have been arrested. This is how we are, in this country. We have the left who are prone to violence and feel justified in committing violence. And what they're doing to the reflecting pool, they're doing that to our country. That's a very important landmark of this country. It's like they're defacing Mount Rushmore, quite frankly, isn't it? Absolutely. Now, if you'd like to support my program and my content, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening on. And when you become a Patreon supporter, there's a lot of perks and benefits, commercial-free editions of all my podcast episodes, as well as access to exclusive live streams, which I do daily on Patreon. And on the exclusive live streams, it's much like here on YouTube. There's a live chat with Patreon supporters. And it's a troll-free zone, no trolls allowed. And I talk about things that I don't talk about here and things I can't talk about here each and every day. And if you're a Patreon supporter, you get access not only to those live streams, but also the whole back catalog of everything I've ever posted on Patreon. So there's a lot of content up there. And those that are already Patreon supporters, you guys can attest to the fact that the live streams are pretty revealing. I talk about a lot of things I can't talk about here. Now, when you go to my Patreon page, you'll see where there's an option to join free. If you join for free, you don't have access to any of the content. You don't even see it. You have to be a paying Patreon supporter, which starts at just $5 a month, okay? So go and check that out. And if you go to the description of this episode, on whatever platform you're listening on, you will see that, okay? And if you become a top Patreon supporter, you get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode, plus you get your name up on the screen. So the names you'll hear now are my top Patreon supporters, and my newest top Patreon supporter, which I will be adding to the list on the screen, is Robert R. Robert R. is our newest top Patreon supporter. Welcome to the community, Robert R. I want to thank my other top Patreon supporters, SFjr, Christine, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, Rick, and Michael. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. Again, there's a link in the description. Let me know, guys, what you think of me doing these early. I started this live stream at 3:30 in the morning. So it's now coming up on 4:30 in the morning. So let me know what you think about these early live streams with live calls. It's certainly a difference. When I get up early on the weekends, I still do my show prep just like it's during the week. There's no difference in a Saturday and a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday to me. Every day is pretty much the same. And I figured, why not? Let me do it. Let's see. Maybe there's some people we don't normally hear from, and certainly we found out that there are people we don't normally hear from out there. Again, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. Welcome to the program. And everyone, please like the video. Liking the video gets the video recommended to people that have not yet found the channel, and that helps a lot. Grow the channel, which is, of course, what everyone wants to do, right? It's the Brian Craig Show podcast, available wherever you get podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.